Hi everyone, it's Mark Fugleman from Abilities, and today we're going to be talking about dressing and focusing specifically on how to tie a necktie. So whether you have a special occasion to go to, it's possibly a wedding, a funeral, school dance, or a job interview, or maybe your job requires that you wear a tie, like mine. I think it's important to be able to learn how to not only put on dress socks, pants, shoes, and your shirt, but to know how to do the tie as well. So today I'm going to show you a couple different knots that I've learned that I think are relatively easy to do, and you don't have to have a whole lot of finger function to do it. So if you were to go to look up how to tie a tie on YouTube, a lot of the times you're going to see that people do it over their neck, which, as I've learned from trying to do this, it's extremely hard, especially if you're trying to fold it, put it in tiny places, grab it, and do all these things. You're really fighting yourself. Fighting your balance, it can be very problematic. So what I did was I learned how to do it on my lap, and that's what I'm going to show you today. The first thing is I'm going to lock my brakes, kind of scoot out, just so I can get a little bit more balance. So I'm hunched over a little bit, like a lot of quads do. Now I got my foot on the tie. Okay. All right, so the first thing you want to do when tying this is make sure that you have the larger side here, smaller side on this side. Now I'm going to go ahead and lay this on my leg, which can be hard. I recommend if you want to do this appropriately, just lay like a flat piece of, it could be cardboard, it could be a tray that you eat food off of, or even another piece of clothing. Actually, the clothing might be best because then this isn't going to slide as much. But you want to have this with the right side up on your leg, and that's going to allow me to get to the next part. So now I'm going to take this tie, and I'm going to fold it over on top. This is going to lay over the top. I'm going to go ahead and try and grab this like so. So it's still in this position. I'm going to go ahead and flip it. So now the tie is facing upside down. This is upside down as well, the skinnier part. I'm going to turn that over. Turn it over all the way. So now I've got this part's upside down, this part's right side up. This is the part where you decide how long you want the tie to be. Now depending on how long your torso is, how you sit on the chair, I feel that you could probably get away with a shorter tie, and that's because you're sitting down. If you were standing up and you had a shorter tie, it might look a little funny, but for me, I prefer it to be a little bit shorter just because of the way I'm sitting in the chair. So that takes a little bit of time, or a little bit of practice figuring out what the length should be on this. So I kind of gauge, just by looking at it and having done this so many times, what I would want. So now you're going to press this down. You got this guy, you're just going to come right over the top of it, hold it in place. So now you're going to kind of pinch it with your hands, like so. You can take this guy, lay it on your lap, take this loop, kind of lay it over it, take this piece, just kind of thread it through, put that on the other side of your leg. You can put this one up if you want, but the main idea is to keep the heavier part there, otherwise it'll drag the tie down. So now, you've got the tie facing in the right position. We're going to flip it over. I'm going to go ahead and fold this in two. And the reason I do this, because I'm going to have to thread it through and I want it to be easy to fit. So down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit it through this little, hole here. So I'll take it folded, I'll just kind of fit that through, just kind of shake it a little bit. If you're feeding it, you might not have the ability to grip it, and that's okay. I don't really have it a whole lot either, but I've learned how to use it. So as you're pulling, kind of use your decis to do it. As you do that, you're going to see that it's going to start to form a knot. Now what I like to do is I'll kind of pull this out and I'll put it over my head. Now what can be hard if you don't have balance is trying to get it up over your collar and all this stuff. So I suggest you try and scoot out of your chair and get really comfortable and then work that part into it. So what I tend to do, I'll go ahead and make sure this guy is going the right way. I'll go ahead and put it around there. I'm going to lift my collar up. It's best to do this in the mirror when you get to this part. That way you can kind of see how things are going and where they're at. I use my thumb and I kind of just go around the collar like this to make sure the tie is in good shape. Alright, so now on the back side is this little bitty piece. Now I let this go way too far, but what I typically do is I will put it against my chest, take my index, pinch it, pull the tie up as I'm doing it. It's way up there now, so I'm going to lick my fingers to kind of be able to grab it, and then I'm going to just pull a little bit to see if I can hold it in place while I inch this, and you can see I was able to pull it down a little bit farther. So at this point, I like to look at the knot in the mirror and see how it's going. I tend to pull the sides down like this to get it in a better position. I kind of repeat this back part, you know, pull it, get it up there to adjust it. So now, I'm going to go ahead and pull it quite a bit because it's still down low. Hold this, kind of shimmy it up, adjust it. Now the one thing you want to, at this point, look and make sure that the tie is not going over the back of your shirt. So as I do this, I'm going to go ahead and take my index fingers and just lean like this, which is hard if you don't have balance, but I have a little bit, so now I'm tucking it in there to get it in up. Now, again, I'm going to grab, take this guy, kind of shimmy it up. I might pull on the tie a little bit, might adjust it just to see how it's looking. And there you go. So now you've got this. I tend to put my fingers in the shirt to pull it down. I'm going to adjust this up, you know, just to get that tie in its right position. Now I typically do the top button. You don't have to. You can still kind of get away with not having a button and still have it look, you know, somewhat professional the way that you're pulling it. Doing the top button's hard. It's even harder to take it off. I'm kind of hit or miss depending on if my shirt's fitting too tight around the neck or not. I may decide to button it, or I may decide to just keep it like this. But once you have it up high enough, you can kind of look in the mirror and see how the knot is. I'm not the hugest fan of this knot. Depending on how you do it, it may come out nice, it may come out, you know, not so nice. Well, at least I'm picky, but I've switched to the next knot that I'm going to show you, which is the half windsor, but just wanted to give you an idea. So at this point, you kind of flip the tie backwards, take this little guy, put your index in here, and I just slip it through. That's just to keep that from flying around, pull it down. But yeah, that's that. Now at this point, if you don't like the length, if it's too long, I would suggest take it off and make it shorter. If you do like the length, or if you want to make it longer, you can always kind of put your hand around this guy and just kind of shimmy it up a little bit, and that'll give you a little bit more length on the tie. But to me, this is probably on the border. Like, I don't want it any longer than this. But this would be the 4-in-hand knot. So now I'm going to show you the half windsor, which I really like. It's more of a symmetrical type knot, and I'll show you how I do it. All right, so with this tie, what we can do to get it off, you just kind of get your thumb underneath here on the one side, pull it this way, then you go this way, and you keep pulling this way, and all of a sudden it comes off. Then you can take this, kind of feed it through, and you're done. All right, let's get to the half windsor. I really like this knot because it looks more like a triangle. If you have a spread collar type of shirt and you're doing the button, the collar is going to come out really wide. So if you do a 4-in-hand, it's not going to look as nice. You're going to see where it kind of ties and connects to the neck part, and it doesn't look as nice as the half windsor. Okay, so the half windsor is going to be pretty similar. There's just one additional step where you have to wrap it around again. So similar to the other one, I'm going to take the thicker side on this side, put this on my leg, and make sure that this guy is facing down. We're going to get to this position, kind of pinch it, flip. Turn this part of the tie over. Put that down as such. Okay, put that down like that. Now, for this one, just kind of measuring out, same, you know, how long do you want the tie to be? Since this has to go a little bit more distance and it wraps around again, you might want to make it a little bit longer, but play with it a little bit because the ties are all different. I can't express that enough. They're all going to give a slightly different look depending on the texture, the feel. And the texture is going to affect you because it's, you know, if it's a little bit more stiff and it grabs your hands, it might be harder to pull it through and get that tighter knot look that you're looking for, so you just have to kind of work with it. Okay, so I'm going to go to about here. Now, With this guy, instead of going around the top, we're going to go through the loop first. So this is what can be a little bit problematic because this is a little bit harder and you want to kind of hold these other items in place. So I'm just going to kind of feed this through, but this part down here, I want to make sure I keep my finger on. I'm actually going to put my whole wrist. I'm going to start to feed this guy through. Now, the idea with this part, see how the tie is already falling down. You want to make sure that doesn't happen. With this particular tie, you're kind of creating a diamond in the front. So as long as you have this piece underneath, you can go ahead and do this other part. I like to just fold it and make this kind of diamond looking shape here. Once you have that, you actually can pinch it, flip this guy around, kind of get it into position here. So now you've still got your little diamond piece. Now, you're going to feed this tie a little bit underneath, and the idea here is you're going to want it to come right behind the diamond. Kind of match it up. So you can see the tie is upside down, and it's just right underneath this kind of diamond looking shape that we have here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come across. Come right across, let this drop, holding it in place. I'm going to grab the whole tie, lift it up. This now is going to come underneath and through this loop. So as I do this, you can kind of hold this, feed it through, lay this part down, let that go. I'm going to put this back up here, kind of straighten it out. Now, same process as the last one. We're going to want to fold this tie, so flip it over and fold it. I'm going to lift it up, and we're going to feed it through this knot. I want you to be able to see. So as you're doing this, this is a pretty stiff tie, but it actually allows me to pull it through quite easily, which is good. So as I do it, you're going to see that this guy is going to create more of a triangle. Not there yet, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pull on this side a little bit so I can get this around my neck. So as I do this, lean back, try and get around, take that thumb, just kind of feed the collar around it, like such. All right, now we've got the tie, we have this little piece, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to kind of feed it up. Now the fun part about this one is I like to take it, fingers here again, this works a little bit better on the half windsor, just kind of shimmy it down, pull up again, shimmy it down. You can see it's making this nice little triangle, which I love. It has a nice look. So I'm going to grab the back, so that's up high again, which could be a little bit difficult. So I'm going to hold it the best I can. Now I can kind of do it on my chest. You want to check the back again, so this could be riding up. Let's use our index fingers. I'm going to scoot out a little bit and lean back because I don't want to feel like I'm falling forward. So use the index, kind of pull it around. Now you use the index once it's out to push the tie up underneath the collar. Now you just kind of get behind it, kind of go like that. Okay. And that took a long time to do. I mean, I actually lose my breath a little bit and it's hard with the balance because I don't have the triceps, so it's, but if they're both there together, you can kind of leverage each other, right? So it's a little bit easier. All right, that's underneath. Now what I'm going to do, just continue to pull this guy up. Hold it. Again, hold it. This tie actually came out a little bit longer. I did it a little bit too long, but you get the idea. If you're, depending on how you want it to look. Now, I did do the top button again, just so you can kind of see and how it's demonstrated, but you see how it makes kind of a triangle. It's to me, a preferred look. It's a little bit more of a difficult, job to do it, but once you get it down, it's a great tie. I really like it, the knot anyway. Let's do the same here. We're going to flip this around. We'll take the little skinny part, take our index, pop this open, just kind of slide this guy down. And there you go. You got your tie. Make sure you want to, you're looking in the mirror to make sure that you like the way it looks. Practice it. These knots aren't that hard after you do it a few times. If you're able to have something on your lap that can stabilize it, it will go a lot better. But that's it. So thank you for joining me today. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Abilities channel. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter. If you have any comments or questions, leave them below. Send me a private message. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Continue to work hard, and I'll see you soon.